Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today. We have an incredible conversation lined up with incredible advocates. We have Emmanuel with us, and we also have Nujeen with us, who you will shortly meet. From the Green family, we're just happy to have this platform to learn from other young humanitarians and really just to understand how do you work with and for young people, particularly with young people who have disability. And who better than the great passionate advocates, Emmanuel and Nujeen, to tell us more about what we need to do. I believe I also am here today to learn from you all. And the audience is also here to really learn from your experiences and your expertise. My name is Foni Joyce Funi. I am the coordinator for the Global Refugee Youth Network. And I'm really excited to be here to host incredible, passionate advocates. And with that, we'll just turn it over to them and really hear from them because they do have the experience, they do have the expertise. What do we need to focus on, especially when it comes to young people living with disabilities? And maybe to start us off, I'm gonna turn to Nujeen. Could you briefly introduce yourself and tell us, just tell us a little bit about yourself, the work that you're doing, and the challenges that you also face as you do your work. Nujeen, over to you.
All right. I'm Nujeen Mustafa, 23 years old, from Syria, currently living in Germany. I'm a disability and refugee rights advocate. Have been in the field for about 6 years now, and have collaborated with various international organizations such as Human Rights Watch, the UNHCR, Save the Children, and so on. On the topic of refugee and disability rights advocacy and protection, my main focus has been on ensuring that the issues that both of these communities face are made more visible to decision makers around the world. So I've been to the European Parliament, I've been to the UN Security Council, and other international conferences to help highlight, the issues and problems that both of these communities face, and how we can eliminate the various types of stigma and discrimination surrounding both of these communities, and help humanize the issues and stories and even ideas and conflicts that may seem unfamiliar to a large part of the general public.
Thank you very much, Nujeen. I think that's a really extensive experience you have. So thank you so much for highlighting that. Ibrahim, do you want to ask the question to Emmanuel?
Oui, Emmanuel, j'ai la question juste par rapport à la question. Je voudrais juste que tu nous parles un peu de ton organisation et aussi de ce que tu fais, et tu peux mentionner aussi les défis auxquels vous êtes confrontés dans la gestion de ton organisation. S'il te plaît, la parole est à toi.
De ma part, je m'appelle d'abord Emmanuel Banouzi. Je suis responsable des handicapés ici chez nous à Chakato Camp, à Uganda. Et je suis parmi les chefs chairman de OPM. Alors, à travers la question que vous m'avez posée, moi, de ma part, je peux dire qu'à travers notre travail, ou soit de ma parole dans notre groupe, moi, je suis responsable du groupe. Alors, à travers ce groupe-là, la groupe, ça continue à nous aider de défendre notre droit des handicapés. C'est ça l'objectif qui est très dur. Et notre vision de notre groupe, c'est pour arriver quelque part, nous aussi comme les autres. Ce n'est pas tous les jeunes qui n'ont pas d'handicap et qui peuvent progresser la vie, mais tous ensemble, nous sommes des personnes, parce que nous aussi, nous pouvons comme les autres. C'est pourquoi nous aussi, nous continuons à combattre ou soit à battre la vie comme les autres. Merci.
So much, Emmanuel, on your organization and what you're doing, and also the objectives of what you're hoping to achieve. So you're both young people, and as young people, we could be out there doing so many other things. What motivated you to advocate for people with disability, and how did you even start? Maybe Nujeen, do you want to go first?
In my case, I got very lucky. The journey that I'd made from Syria to Germany garnered some media attention. And then after a short while, I was approached by various organizations that wanted me, and partners that wanted me to share my story in various conferences and events. And then I realized that this was something that I would love to continue doing, advocating for the rights of refugees and people with disabilities, especially in regards to removing any kind of stigma that the public might have of both of these groups. And I want this has also made me realize that through the work, I hope to make their voice reach people that can actually and really make an impact in their lives, and if someone's life just got just a little bit better because of something that I was part of, then I'm really happy.
Thank you. You've said if someone's life is made a little bit better because of something you've done, then it makes you happy. I think that's a really powerful statement that you've shared. Ibrahim, go ahead and translate the question.
Juste la deuxième question, je voudrais juste approfondir un peu jusqu'à présent. Qu'est-ce que c'est pour la majorité de jeunes qui vivent avec un handicap et qui vivent la même chose que vous?
Ce qui se présente, les jeunes qui est handicapé, d'abord on voit là physiquement. Et toi-même, tu dois te dire que celui-ci ou soit celui-là est un handicapé. Tu vois, il y a un handicap physique, il y a l'handicap moralement, il y a l'handicap intérieur. Mais nous sommes l'handicapé physiquement.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel, for sharing that. I think you've also spoken about the importance and what motivates you, which is really encouraging. I think just having you and Nujeen on the call today, good to actually have both of you here. And I'd want to hear from you. What fun thing do you love to do?
Many people don't consider this to be fun, but I love to read. And I also love to travel a lot. I can't always do that, but when I get the chance, it's one of the most fun experiences.
Great. Thank you for that. I'll translate this into Kiswahili because this is a multicultural call. Emmanuel, ni kitu gani ambayo inakupendeza kufanya? Ukiwa na wakati wako ya kujiburudisha, ni kitu gani unapenda sana?
Asante sana dada Foni kuswali. Kitu ambacho nafurahi sana. Unaona mimi niko kwanza mlemavu. Niko mtu ambaye nilitupiliwa kwanza na wazazi, natupiliwa na community. Lakini ile yote haikunivunja moyo ya kimaisha. Kitu ambacho kinanifurahisha sana zaidi kimaisha ama kwa kunitosa stress ya wazazi kama vile ya community, napenda sana muziki. Wakati naikala inabidi nikafuate muziki ama nikakutane fasi kwenye wanacheza mpira football, ile nao pia inanipea plaisir kwangu, maana naisikia na mimi uhuru, kwani wakati niko napata ile nasikia moyo inabadilika, lakini wakati nikala vile hiyo kitu haitawezekana. Napenda sana muziki na football.
Wow. So Emmanuel is also saying that because of his handicap, of course, different people were not considering him. They left him on the side, but he really loves music and he really loves football, and it makes his heart full when he sees football or he listens to music. And for you, Nujeen, traveling and reading is one of the coolest things that I think you're also doing. I love reading, and that just shows the different audiences. Persons with disabilities are just like you and I, you know. We have dreams, we have things that we enjoy. So definitely, I thank you for sharing on that and what you really enjoy doing during your free time. So you've both talked about the great work that you're doing, but then at the same time, there's also barriers that you encounter. What is the biggest barrier in your work? If you could name 2 barriers, what would you say is the biggest barrier? And what recommendation do you have? How can other young people, particularly people like people who are watching you right now, how can young people work with other young people who have disabilities? What do they need to do? So if you could reflect on the barriers and then the recommendation on what, as young people, or even a key message for me, you know, as a young person, this is how you can work better with persons with disability. So if you could reflect on that, that would be good. We'll start with you, Nujeen, and then we will come to you, Emmanuel, where Ibrahim will translate the question in French as well.
Sure. For me, I think one barrier causes the other. The barriers are invisibility and inaccessibility. I think that just a bit of a background information on me. I didn't attend school until I was here in Germany. And I arrived here when I was almost 17 years old. So here we see a fundamental lack of infrastructure in my country, as an example, that prevented me from attending school and getting an education. And this is true for many parts of the world, where people with disabilities have no access to other things and other rights that other people take for granted. And this is all present because of the lack of belief in the potential that people with disabilities have, and the services and the contributions that they can have for their communities and countries and cultures. So really, and because of this invisibility and because of this inaccessibility, they the issues of their rights and the problems that they face, all of these barriers remain invisible to decision makers, and thus there's kind of a block on any potential for change. And what I would recommend is all countries and all communities to invest in their disabled populations, so that they become empowered to make the decisions that would improve their lives. One issue in particular I find is the lack of faith and belief in disabled people's potential, and this is I believe the core at which the problem lies.
Thank you so much. I think you've reflected on so many things that need to be considered. So thank you for that. I'm going to pass it to Ibrahim, who's going to translate for Emmanuel. Ibrahim, over to you.
Ces personnes des côtés, et comment d'autres jeunes humanitaires peuvent-ils travailler avec des jeunes handicapés?
Ok, merci. Pour nous, nous avons besoin de travailler avec les autres personnes parce que nous-mêmes, nous n'avons pas la force de travailler nous-mêmes. Alors, nous demandons aux autres personnes chaque fois ou soit chaque moment de faire la rencontre avec eux et nous faisons quelques réunions ensemble et ces réunions-là, c'est pour leur demander comment on peut travailler avec elles dans la communauté. Parce que nous, les handicapés, nous n'avons pas d'abord la force physique, mais nous avons la force moralement. Alors, quand nous demandons aux ces gens-là, et chaque fois on accepte, chaque fois ça nous néglige, alors ça aussi ça nous fait très mal, mais nous n'êtes pas fatigués de marcher avec ces personnes qui ont un bon état. Mais nous, on nous néglige chaque fois.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to have you both here and for you to just tell us things that we need to take into consideration. That's really powerful because then it also helps me as a young person to also know what do I need to do more? How do I improve in my community? How do I make sure that even when I'm thinking or speaking or walking, how do I also consider other young people who might not be able to access a place or who might not be able to have access to information. So thank you for sharing that with all of us. We're coming to the close of this brief conversation, and we have multiple audiences. We have young people, we have different stakeholders, we have different age groups who are watching us today. What's the one thing you'd like them to take away from this conversation? If they were to forget everything, what's the one thing they need to always consider as they continue with their work? Nujeen, go ahead.
I'll be very brief with that. Disabled does not mean incapable. And people with disabilities will shock you with their potential and with their ideas, with their dreams, when given the chance.
Oh, very strong, very, very strong closing. Ibrahim, do you want to ask Emmanuel as well?
Emmanuel, qu'est-ce que vous souhaiteriez que le public retienne de cette conversation d'aujourd'hui?
Merci beaucoup pour la question. Moi, je demande au public qui nous écoute à ce moment, être handicapé, ce n'est pas un péché. Être handicapé, ce n'est pas une malheur. Parce que ça peut causer par un accident, ça peut causer par Dieu. Et je demande aussi aux droits de l'homme de continuer à nous défendre nous aussi dans notre droit. C'est ça ma demande à la population, ou soit à nos publics qui nous écoutent à ce moment.
Really strong as well, Emmanuel. Thank you for reminding us that just because you have a disability, it doesn't mean you're not able to do it. Just because someone has a disability, they should not be put on the side. People need to work with persons with disability, which is really important. And to Nujeen for really also saying that disability does not mean inability. I think this conversation has really been a very strong conversation, hearing directly from you. And some of the things as we were speaking, that I was speaking, is that young people with disabilities are capable. That's what we've heard from Emmanuel and Nujeen. Young people with disabilities are energetic. I mean, look at the people we have on the screen. They're very energetic and passionate about what they do. Young people with disability have skills. We don't have to go further. We see Emmanuel really leading his group, and we see Nujeen starting her activism at a very young age, really passionate about it. We've also heard that they also have dreams and they enjoy things, that enjoy sports, football, they enjoy that. Volleyball, they enjoy that. So as a young person, how can you ensure that you include persons with disability in your sporting activity, in your music activity, in your art activity? So this is a big call for you, that as young people, let's think about how do we strengthen each other? How do we leave no one behind? But more importantly, how do we work to ensure that accessibility to everything, to information, to participation is available for young persons with disabilities as well. So from myself, I would like to just say thank you, but I don't want to end it with my last word. I really just want to go back to Nujeen and Emmanuel just to say your closing remarks. What are your closing remarks? I think I don't want to take the show of this. You guys are the amazing stars that we have today. And maybe we can start with you, Nujeen. What's your closing word or remarks for today?
The last thing I would say is that we're used to people doing things for the community, for people with disabilities rather than with them, and I think it's time for people with disabilities to be the ones in charge, because they know best how to make the world a place that feels welcoming and warm to them.
Thank you. Very, very powerful. Uko na habari gani, message gani moja ya kumalizia hii conversation ya hii mazungumzo? Ni kitu gani ungetaka watu wenye watu wanakuangalia wote, ni kitu gani wanafaa kupaswa kujua kuhusu watu walio na disability?
Asante sana kwa kupitia ulizo yenye dada Foni umeniswali. Kwangu kenyimi anaweza kasema, nishasema ya kwamba kukuwa mlemavu hayakuwa dhambi. Unaweza kuwa mlemavu wakati wewe Mungu amekutakia hiyo maisha, unaweza kuwa mlemavu. Kuna kwa wale ambao wanafanya ajali wamekutoka kama walemavu. So tunalomba kwa droit de l'homme, yani ku haki ya binadamu ulimwenguni, waweze nasi kama vile walemavu watusaidie, wakatuambilie taifa ama swate ulimwengu kama nasi walemavu nasi tuko watu kama vile watu wengine, wakatupatia na shie uhuru wetu kama vile inavyostahili. Sababu unaweza kuwa mlemavu lakini uko na akili, unaweza kuwa mlemavu na unatumika kama vile mtu mwingine. Sababu wakati unakuwa mlemavu wa kiungo cha mwili hayamaanishi eti unapoteza na akili ya mwili, lakini community hawajui hiyo kitu. Kwetu sisi tunasema kila mara mlemavu ni ule ambaye hana akili, lakini wewe mwenyewe uko na akili na Mungu anakuima kiungo kimoja cha mwili, ni kusema huko mtu mzima katikati ya watu. Ila tunaomba haki ya binadamu ulimwenguni itusaidie nasi ikatutetee kwa kutupatia haki zetu sisi kama vile walemavu, na kwa organize watu kama vile nyinyi. Kwanza Green tunashukuru kwanza sababu nyinyi ni organization ya kwanza tokea mimi na kwa kwanza mlemavu. Leo niko na miaka 33 iko organization ya kwanza depuis mimi na kutana na kamata nasi walemavu katikati ya vikundi vingine. Ila kwa hiyo nanyi pia nasema asante sana, na Mwenyezi Mungu aendelee kuwajalia neema siku kwa siku. Hiyo ndio yenye naweza kusema kwa kifupi.
Asante sana. Thank you very much, both of you. Really looking forward to seeing the great work that you will continue to do. Reach out at any point. So thank you so much. I've enjoyed this conversation. And in case you want to teach us more, do reach out. Tell us, I want to teach you how to work with other young people. Today you've taught us so much. So from the Green team, I really appreciate you being here and spending your time to educate us. So thank you very much.